You're 8 years old, and a man in a turban is measuring your teeth. Your mother is screaming behind a wall of soldiers. Your father is on his knees in the dirt, not because he was pushed, but because his legs gave out. The man writes something on a piece of paper. He doesn't look at you when he does it. You're the third boy he's collected today. You won't be the last. This is the Devshirme, the blood tax. Every few years, Ottoman officials ride into Christian villages across the Balkans and take boys between the ages of 8 and 14. They take the healthiest, the smartest, the ones whose parents clearly fed them well. You are all three. A boy next to you on the cart is crying so hard he can't breathe. Another one is staring at the road like he's trying to memorize it. Like maybe if he remembers every turn, he can walk back home one day. You're doing neither. You're holding a small round stone in your hand, smooth and gray, from the riverbed behind your house. The boy who gave it to you is sitting at the other end of the cart. His name is Marcus. He lived 4 houses down. He's 9. He told you to keep the stone because the river doesn't exist where you're going. He was right. Level 1. The Asimi Olen, the cadet. They take you to a training barracks outside Edirne. They shave your head. They give you a uniform that doesn't fit. They convert you to Islam on your second day. They give you a new name. You don't use it in your head. In your head, you still use the one your mother gave you. The training is not what you expected. You expected whips and chains. Instead, you get discipline, structure. 3 meals a day, which is more than you got at home. You learn Turkish. You learn Arabic. You learn to read. You learn mathematics. You learn the Quran. A boy who was a goat herder 6 months ago is now reading Persian poetry. The empire doesn't want savages. It wants soldiers who can think. Marcus is in the same barracks. Different unit, but close enough that you see him at meals. He still has the accent from your village. You both do. At night, when the officers aren't listening, he whispers the name of the river back home. You don't know why that makes your chest hurt, but it does. He still carries a stone just like yours. He says he grabbed 2 from the riverbed the night before the soldiers came. 1 for him, 1 for you. He says it's a piece of the river they can't take. Physical training starts in your 3rd month. Running, wrestling, archery, swordsmanship. You're decent at most of them. Marcus is better. He's faster, stronger, more coordinated. The officers notice. They always notice. They start separating the best cadets for advanced tracks. Marcus gets pulled into cavalry training. You stay in infantry. This is the first time since the cart that you're not within shouting distance of him. It shouldn't matter. You've known him for a year. But a year is a long time when you're 9 and everything you knew is gone. You graduate the Asimi Olen at 12. You're assigned to an orta, a regiment. 61 other men who eat from the same kazan, the same giant copper pot. The kazan is sacred. If your orta loses its kazan in battle, the entire unit is disgraced. The officers are promoted from within. Every Janissary started the same way you did. Taken, converted, trained. The general who inspects your formation was once a barefoot Serb. Now he commands 6,000 men. The system works because the system is all you have. Level 2. Your first deployment is a border skirmish against a Hungarian raiding party. You march for 11 days. Your boots are good. Your weapon is better than anything your father ever held. The empire feeds its Janissaries well because hungry soldiers lose wars. The Hungarians hit a supply village near the Danube. By the time your orta arrives, the raid is over. 26 villagers are dead. You help dig graves. You don't feel much. A year ago, you might have. But the barracks taught you something specific. You are not a person who feels. You are a Janissary. Feeling is for the people you protect. Marcus is there. Different orta, cavalry unit, but the same campaign. You see him across the camp that night. He's taller now, broader. He moves like someone who's been on a horse every day for 3 years. He sits next to you by the fire and pulls the stone from his pocket, rolls it between his fingers. He says he heard the village back home was hit by plague 2 winters ago. He says he doesn't know if their families are alive. He says it like he's reporting weather. That's when you realize the barracks did the same thing to him. The only difference is he still carries the stone. You ask him why. He says, because the stone doesn't need him to feel anything. It just needs him to keep it. Your first real battle is outside Belgrade. The Sultan wants the city. The Hungarians want to keep it. You're in the third wave. You can hear the first 2 waves dying before you even see the wall. The sound a man makes when a crossbow bolt hits his neck is not the sound you imagined. It's quieter, wetter. You scale a section of the outer wall with your orda. The man next to you takes a pike through his shoulder and falls 20 feet. You don't look down. You plant your feet on the top of the wall and realize the man on the other side is about your age. He's terrified. You kill him before he finishes raising his sword. You feel the steel stop against bone. Later, you clean your blade and eat dinner from the kazan. The soup is warm. You wonder if the boy you killed ate dinner last night. Belgrade falls. Your Orta lost 19 men. You didn't get wounded. The officers promote you to Usta, a senior soldier, because you didn't hesitate on the wall. Hesitation is the only disease the Janissary Corps can't train out of you. Either you have it or you don't. You don't. Level 3. You're 22. You've fought in 4 campaigns. You have a scar across your left forearm from a Serbian cavalry saber that you barely remember getting. You're stationed in Constantinople now, part of the Sultan's personal garrison. This is where the politics start. The Janissaries aren't just soldiers anymore. They're a political force. 40,000 men, loyal to the corps before the Sultan, to the Kazan before the throne. When a Sultan makes decisions the Janissaries don't like, they overturn their Kazans in the courtyard of the Topkapi Palace. The sound of copper hitting stone is louder than any war drum. It means mutiny. It means the Sultan changes his mind or loses his head. You see it happen once. The Sultan raises taxes on military pensions. 1,200 Janissaries march on the palace. The Kazans hit the ground. 36 hours later, the Grand Vizier is dead and the tax is repealed. Nobody elected you. Nobody asked the people what they wanted. 40,000 men with weapons and a shared pot of soup just changed the government. You stood in the courtyard when it happened. You didn't overturn anything. You didn't stop anyone either. Marcus is stationed 2 districts away. You see him every few weeks. He's been promoted to Sipahi cavalry officer. He still carries the stone. He's become someone important. He rides with the Sultan's cavalry escort on formal occasions. He tells you about a woman he met, a merchant's daughter. He says he wants to marry her. You remind him that Janissaries aren't supposed to marry. He says the rule is barely enforced anymore. He says he's tired of being a weapon. He wants to be a person. You understand what he means. You just don't feel it yet. Level 4. You're 31. You've been promoted to Korbachi, commanding your own Orta. 61 men eat from your Kazan. Their lives are your responsibility. You know every one of their names, their villages, the languages they spoke before Turkish. One of them was taken from a village 3 miles from yours. He's 17. He reminds you of yourself. You don't tell him that. The campaign is in Persia. The Safavids have been pushing the eastern border for 2 years. The Sultan wants it settled. You march for 43 days through terrain that breaks wagons and kills horses. The dust gets into everything. Your lungs, your food, the joints of your armor. 3 men in your Orda die of dysentery before you see a single Persian soldier. The battle at Chaldiran is the one they'll put in history books. Your Orta holds the left flank. The Safavid cavalry charges 3 times. Each time, the musket volley breaks them before they reach your line. The 3rd time, a horse with no rider slides into your formation and crushes 2 of your men. One of them is the boy from the village near yours. He's alive, but his leg is bent the wrong way. You have him carried to the rear. He dies that night. Not from the leg, from the fever that came after. You win the battle. The Safavid Shah retreats. The Sultan is pleased. He gives your orta a ceremonial banner. You hang it above the Kazan. That night, you sit in your tent and hold the stone Marcus gave you on the cart. You haven't thought about the river in years. You think about it now. You think about how cold the water was. You think about how the stone was at the bottom, smooth, because the water had been rubbing it for 1,000 years. You wonder if the river is still there. You wonder if anything is still there. Level 5, you're 38. You're back in Constantinople. The new Sultan is young and ambitious. He wants to reform the Janissary Corps. He says it's bloated. He says it's corrupt. He says soldiers who run bakeries and shops are not soldiers. He's right about all of it. That doesn't mean the Corps will accept it. Marcus comes to see you on a Tuesday. He looks older than 39. His hair is gray at the temples. He's wearing civilian clothes, not his cavalry uniform. He tells you he left the Corps. He married the merchant's daughter. He has a son. He opens a shop near the Grand Bazaar selling fabrics. He says he's happy. He says the word like he's surprised it applies to him. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out the stone. He puts it on the table between you. He says he doesn't need it anymore. He says you should have it. He says 2 stones from the same river should be together. You don't take it. You tell him to keep it. He smiles. He says you always were the stubborn one. He picks it up, holds it for a moment, then puts it back in his pocket. He stands. He clasps your arm. He walks out. 3 weeks later, the Sultan makes his move. He abolishes the Janissary Corps. He calls it the auspicious incident. 15,000 soldiers resist. The Sultan's new army, trained in European methods, opens fire on the Janissary barracks. The barracks where you trained. The barracks where you learned to read. The barracks where a boy from 4 houses down once whispered the name of a river to you in the dark. You survive because you were in the garrison district, not the barracks. Others aren't as lucky. You find out later that the Sultan's cavalry rode through the merchant district to suppress Janissary sympathizers. Marcus had left the Corps. Marcus wasn't a soldier anymore. Marcus sold fabric. It didn't matter. His shop was on the street where the cavalry charged. He was standing outside when they came through. He wasn't armed. He wasn't fighting. He was closing the shutters of his shop because he heard the cannon fire and wanted to protect his inventory. A cavalryman cut him down because he was a man of military age on the wrong street at the wrong time. Level 6. You're 53. You work in a tannery outside Edirne. Not because you're a tanner, but because nobody hires former Janissaries for anything that matters. The Corps is gone. The Kazans were melted down. The barracks were demolished. The system that took you, raised you, trained you, fed you, and defined every day of your life for 45 years no longer exists. You're a Christian boy from a village in the Balkans who was stolen at 8, turned into a Muslim soldier, fought in wars he didn't choose, commanded men who trusted him, and was discarded when the Sultan decided he was obsolete. You have 2 stones in your pocket now. You found Marcus's in his shop. His wife gave it to you. She didn't know what it was. She said it was just a rock he always carried. You told her where it came from. She cried. You didn't. You walk to the tannery every morning. You walk home every night. Some nights you sit on the step outside your door and hold both stones in your hand, one in each palm. They're identical, smooth, gray, cold, 2 pieces of a river that's been flowing since before the empire existed and will keep flowing long after everyone forgets it was ever there. You close your fingers around them. You don't go back to the village. You thought about it. You stood at a crossroads once, and the left road went east toward the mountains, toward the river, toward whatever's left. You took the right road. You took it because you realized something. The boy who was taken from that village at 8 years old died a long time ago. What came back from Constantinople is something else, something the empire built. And the empire doesn't exist anymore either. You work at the tannery. You eat alone. You carry 2 stones from a river you'll never see again, and every night you hold them together because that's the closest Marcus will ever get to going home.